This is 10C0028 Goodale Applied Medical Conveyor System. This is the beginning of the conveyor system, the belt section where product will be loaded on in individual packages and then placed into boxes. As we move down, you can see the end of the conveyor where there's a guide placed to guide it onto the next section of power roller conveyor. Also, you can see sitting on the floor currently right now, just for test purposes, there's two e-stops that will be mounted by Goodale on the side of this section of belt. That e-stop, if activated, will stop this length of belt. Also on the floor is a disconnect switch that will be mounted for the motor so that it can be locked out in case it needs to be worked on. The guide that's here allows product, individual single packages to be able to go underneath of the guide, but then also it keeps the taller boxes, once it's packaged, from going underneath and going off the end of the belt conveyor to make sure that it's transported to the power roller conveyor. At that point, which it transitions over to the power roller conveyor, and it will accumulate if need be, if the line would get backed up. Most time, hopefully, as long as product's moving off the end, it shouldn't back up. And as it comes down the power roller section, it gets to the scale. The guide continues up to the point of the scale to make sure that it's centered as it goes across the scale. Above and before we get to the scale here, there's the first of two operator interfaces. This operator interface is where the operators will be able to set up a new batch. Also where they'll be able to view running data for the system, so they'll be able to watch the weight and the barcode. As the product then moves from the power roller conveyor across the scale, there's a scanner, a rastering scanner, that will read the barcode on the side of the package. If I pan up here, you can see the display for the scale, which will show the weight as well. As it leaves the scale area, it moves to the first section where the first pusher is. So if there is a package that has a barcode that does not match the batch data, or a weight that does not match the weight data, it will kick off with this pusher into a reject bin. As it moves further down the system, we get to the second pusher, and the second pusher will is actually used to stack the packages. So depending on the size of the package, it will stack 3, 4, or 5 packages side by side on the adjacent conveyor to the left, and then after they're all stacked, they'll transport down the conveyor. Which we get to next is a lift gate. If the lift gate's up, those packages will stop at the zone prior to the lift gate. Once the lift gate is put into the down position, it'll then allow it to transport down the remainder of the conveyor, and it'll travel all the way down until we get to the end of the conveyor where the last pusher is. And that pusher at the end here will then fire the completed stack of 3, 4, or 5 off onto the table that will be provided. There is a photo eye that we have mounted right here that will get mounted looking across the table, so that it'll know that if there's any product already on the table, that it can't push off another batch. This pretty much concludes the overview of the system. This section of video will discuss the operator interfaces. first operator interface as shown in the overview. First screen that you come to is just a kind of a welcome screen. It shows that the system was developed by Carter Control Systems for CS Goodale Company. It has two options basically. One to get to the main processing menu, and a second one for a support screen. If I press F2, you can get to the support screen. Support screen just has contact information, phone numbers, in case technical support is required. If I go back to the help main screen, you can now access the process screen by pressing F1. On the main process screen, there are 4 options. The first of the 4 is the process view screen, where you can watch the barcode weight and the product weight and the barcode data, and also it has a product count. So if I press F1, it's a little tough to see there, but the first piece of information at the top is a running product count that does get reset when you start a new batch. The second piece of information is the weight, and the third on the bottom is the barcode data. If I press F1, I can go back to the main menu, and the next option I have is option 2, which will start the belt, start the system. The third option is to stop the system, stop the belts. And then the fourth option, the final option, is your batch setup screen, where you can load the data in for your next run. So if I go to option 4 right now, on option 4, that product screen, I know it's a little tough to see there, but it basically displays just the weight data again and the barcode data. And all we do here is that once we've started the system and we go to this batch setup screen, we actually can run the next product size across the scale and the scanner, and it will read it and weigh it and use that as what all the rest of the packages that are going to run with it should be compared to. There is a help screen here. If I hit number 3, that actually kind of tells you that. It just tells you to record new batch data, run product through this scale in the scanner, press 1 to accept and 2 to cancel. So at this point I can go back, and I'm back to that screen. Once I've ran that batch data, I can either again hit 1 to accept it or 2 to cancel. Right now I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel and go back, and that pretty much is the operator interface. It's pretty simple. This is the first of the 2 PLCs without HMI panels. The second one, as I move back across, will be located in the main control panel. That main control panel will be the one mounted on the far wall. So this second PLC looks pretty much identical to the first one. The only difference is this doesn't have all the screens. The only screens that this has is the main screen and the support screen with a support number. The purpose for the 2 PLCs is that the first one that we have controls the main belt at the beginning of the system. It also controls the in-feed to the scale, the scanner, interfacing with the scale itself, and the first pusher. The second PLC in the system interfaces to the second pusher and the section and conveyor adjacent to the second pusher, right before the liftgate, and also the scale or the pusher on the far end. So the combination of the 2 PLCs both together control the entire system. So once again, we're at the operator interface, this time to demonstrate setting up a new batch. on the operator interface, we would select option number 4 to set up a batch. But prior to doing so, you can see right now that the belt system is stopped. Both the main belt and the scale belt are currently not running. So before we set up a new batch, we need to actually start the system. So if I press option number 2, that will start the belt system. So you can see now that the main belt is running. And also if I pan over to the scale, that the scale is also running. So now to set up a batch, we need to go into option number 4. Oops. Okay, there we go. And option number 4, again, as I described earlier, shows the weight and a barcode. So once we're in the batch mode, we now can run one package of the next particular product size that we want to process. So now, loaded onto the system, we have one product coming down of the next size we want to run. In this case, it's the smallest box. So as it runs down the system, it will run across the scale and the barcode, and on the first one while you're doing the batch, it will kick off on the reject. Once we've run our product and we're happy with the results, we would then on the display come over and choose option number 1 to accept, or number 2 to cancel if we don't want to use that one or go back to the previous one. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and accept the batch, which takes me back to the main menu. And from the main menu now, the system, since it's already running, I can actually choose option number 1, which is my process view. That now, I know it's a little tough to tell there, but that production count at the top has actually been zeroed back out because I just set up a new batch, and now I have my weight and my barcodes displayed, and I'm ready to run new product through the system. This video will demonstrate the largest product size running on the system. Mixed into this batch, there will be 3 rejects. First reject had just kicked off. There's the second reject. Right now, since there's no table there, our sensor at the end is blocked so that they don't push off. Once we clear that photo eye, the last pusher will push off. That demonstrates the last pusher pushing off on the table when the last sensor is clear.